Hello, my witchy friends. Welcome back to the 7th episode of Cat's Tea and Witchcraft. My name is Fauna, if you are new, and I am your host for the podcast. Today's episode is going to be on grounding and centering. This is one of those easy steps that you should probably take every time before you do ritual or any sort of magical working. And the techniques that you can use will definitely vary from person to person, and I will go into depth on why each of these steps is important. So, grounding and centering is two separate things, but they go so well together, they almost turn into one act in its own. What grounding is, it's connecting to the earth and getting rid of unneeded energy that you have within you. And you don't want to have high levels of energy at all time because it could wear you out. But that is more important once you finish your craft work. So when you first get into doing some magic, or you're about to do some magic or rituals, you want to ground. And you're going to ground, and then that is going to balance you out and get rid of any unnecessary energy, but allow the energy that you do need to kind of help you stay level-headed. And then when you finish your magical workings, you want to ground again because your energy will be a lot higher than when you started, and you don't want to be on an energy high at all times because you could get pretty exhausted with it. And so you just can quickly ground after you're done. And the easiest way to describe what grounding does to you in what you can imagine is feeling like in imagining yourself being grounded as literally part of the ground and connected to the earth. So the easiest thing is to pretend or imagine that you have roots growing into the ground and branches growing upward and becoming a part of nature. So pretty much just imagining that you're becoming a tree or anything that you feel connected to in the woods or any other part of Mother Earth. So don't feel like you're obligated to pretend you're a tree because everyone might have a different tree they like or a different part. Maybe you want to become a mountain or a hill, or you want to become a hermit crab. I don't know. So choose whatever you would like if that's the technique that you want to take. But the example of becoming a tree is just the easiest one to give as an example. And then after you ground, you want to center. And centering is clearing your mind of negative or unnecessary thoughts and take a moment to try to relax and find a moment of peace. When you find that moment of peace, which you might find while you are grounding, you want to focus on your current goals or whatever intention that you're going to be putting into your magic, or just something that you're focusing on now. Because when you're doing some rituals, you might not be doing magical work with your rituals. So if you are just honoring ancestors or gods, or you're just practicing grounding and centering, just kind of give yourself a goal and focus on it. For some people, they might wake up in the morning and ground and center as a part of their daily routine. And that right there can kind of help you just get your days started and know that you're on the right track or you're trying to have a really good day so far. Because maybe if you know your day might be rough, telling yourself that you are going to have a good day no matter what happens could make a difference. So like I said, grounding and centering are technically two separate things, but they almost flow into each other naturally. So when you ground, you're getting yourself prepared, you're relaxing, and you're getting rid of those unneeded energies. And before you do your magic or you get started on whatever you're doing, focus on whatever your intentions or your goal is. And sometimes you do it and don't even realize you've moved into that step and it just happens. And at that point, that is when you have moved into your centering. And even if you're not doing it for a magical purpose, when you ground yourself and center, it could help you with your day mentally and possibly even physically to giving yourself a moment of peace and just to focus on yourself. So while you're doing these two techniques, you need to make sure that you actually are relaxed and in a proper state to be working with magic. As I have mentioned before in the past, you do not want to work with magic when you're tired, upset, mad, or sick. And your intentions need to be known by you and the universe. So just think to yourself as clearly as possible on what your intentions are. You want to leave no room for confusion or doubt in yourself. So don't worry about making mistakes while you're doing your magic. Since your energy intent will already be there when you're working on it, small mistakes might not make a difference at all. So during magic, perfection is not required, but say maybe you do a spell and it didn't come out the way you wanted. Don't worry about it. It probably was not an effect of your centering and grounding that you've done. It's just a part of the learning process of magic, and that's part of the fun. But grounding and centering could help your magic because you don't want to be working with your energy all over the place. It could throw it out of whack at that point. And then after you ground and center and you do your magic and you finish everything off, you want to ground again. And grounding the second time is a lot simpler. It's as simple as hugging your pets or just touching the ground, or hugging a tree if you're working with magic outside. So at that point, you don't have to worry about doing a longer set of techniques. You just want to release that extra energy, not get rid of energy you already had from the day. Because some magic can give you an energy level that's ridiculously large, and you don't want to be carrying that with you for an extensive amount of time. So the next thing I'm going to go over are ways to ground. Like I said, you want to imagine yourself in a relaxed state and get into a relaxed state, and you can work on grounding and slowly breathe. I ain't doing very well at breathing since I'm babbling on to you. So you want to kind of get yourself into a healthy pattern of breathing, and you want to try to clear your mind. You just want to reduce what you're thinking about and only really focus on you in the current moment. Sometimes it's hard. It's a skill. It's kind of like a meditation if that's the form of grounding you want to do, but just do your best, because meditating in itself is a technique that can take a really long time to master. And there are copious amounts of ways to meditate. So you want to start focusing on you and yourself. So you want to make sure you don't have children, pets, friends, roommates, or anyone else around you, because they could definitely distract you. So you want to make sure you're in a quiet place as well, unless you're using music to help ground you. You want to try to think as simply as possible and imagine that you're connecting to the earth and becoming one with the earth in the universe. So you might want to imagine yourself being a part of nature, like I said, becoming a mountain or a tree or a hermit crab. You could imagine light radiating out of you and turning into a star or a sun, or your aura coming out and expanding. Or you could focus on a specific chakra that you might feel is not as balanced as the rest of them. Or you could focus on all of them. You don't have to do any of those by just meditating. You can think about those things or imagine yourself in becoming a part of nature while you're taking a bath. And a lot of people call those ritual baths. For bath or showers, you could also do it in the shower, because not everyone has a tub. You can just use the water that's coming from the faucet and imagine negative energies washing away from you. You could use herbs, oils, salts as well if you're taking a bath. And I think for showers, sometimes people will hang herbs in their shower, as long as you and your pets aren't allergic to them. And you can always play music as well while you're taking your shower or your bath. Like I've mentioned, you could do it while meditating. You can do it while sitting down, laying down, which is how I prefer, and just feel that you're planted to the ground. So you just want to have a good contact when you're sitting with your back straight in a comfortable position, or just laying down in the most comfortable position for you. Like I said, I prefer to lay down, but it's also because I feel like I can't focus on meditating or grounding when I'm so focused on good posture. You could also use guided meditations to help with this as well. And then for people who enjoy feasting, you can have food or drinks to help you ground. Think about all the grounding techniques that I've already mentioned, but the act of eating and drinking represents the gifts of nature that is provided to us and allows us to live, because we can't live without food and water. It could just be a snack and some tea or water or whatever you prefer that really gets you calm. Or you could have a full-on ritual feast with yourself or friends or something. But you want to still focus on the concept of grounding. I like having tea before I do any sort of work, or water, and sometimes I do both because I like that balance of hot and cold. If you really want to get all naturey with your grounding, you can go outside. You can go on your porch, you can go into some woods by your home, or you can just do it sitting next to one of your plants. I don't know. I don't have any plants in my place because my cat would kill them, unfortunately, and I don't have a lot of high places to put it, but he would probably find a way to get to it. So if you really want to imagine yourself being a tree next to a tree, that would probably be really beneficial because you're actually there and you can feel the dirt and feel the trees directly. And being outside and hearing the noises of nature, as long as you're in a city area, maybe if you live in the city or the suburbs, if it's really busy and you like hearing the sounds of honking horns and people screaming or just any sort of city noise, some people find that really relaxing and that won't bother them. But for me, I probably wouldn't be able to focus if I was doing that outside and I heard a lot of non-nature noises. So if you're trying to do that outside technique and you don't want to hear a lot of city noise, you might want to go a little farther out or find a spot that's a lot more quiet. If you're doing this outside by yourself, I would not recommend doing something like earplugs to help reduce the amount of noise you hear, because that is a little bit dangerous, especially if someone can sneak up behind you and you aren't paying attention. I would say if you want to use earphones, do that if you're in your own home, because then you don't have to worry about more than maybe your children or your pets jumping on you. And for those who really love the gym, some people find exercising really relaxing. It could help you get out extra energy that you don't need, but for some people, working out also gives them energy. So just focus on being a part of nature and grounding yourself while you're working out. So you don't necessarily have to be standing still. If you are relaxed when you're on the treadmill or you're lifting, more power to you. I would probably exhaust myself while doing that if I'm exercising before I do magic, and anything more than yoga would deplete my energy. And I actually end up doing yoga before a lot of magical working or rituals because I feel more stretched, but I won't do like an hour-long session. I'll maybe do it for 5 or 10 minutes just to kind of help my body get prepared. And kind of that stretching part is good as well because you're relaxing your muscles and pushing out all that tightness that you have in your body. And for some people, they like using stones and crystals for grounding, and they just sit there, or while they're getting themselves prepared, they can keep it on their person, put it in a pocket, put it in a little bag around your neck or in your hands, and just kind of hold on to your crystals and stones. And some stones can help take out negative energy and allow you to withhold your positive energy. But if you use stones or crystals, make sure you cleanse them before you use them. And when it comes to ways to center, maybe it's just my understanding with centering. I feel like grounding is more of the techniques that you're using to get into that relaxed state, and centering is just getting into that mindset and stating your intentions and goals. It could be as simple as stating what you want your spell to be, or just focusing on your emotions and personal development that you are actively working on. So that's about all for the grounding and centering. And like I said, you ground and center before you do magic, and you want to ground after you do your magic to release that additional energy that you gained during your ritual. That one does not need to be complicated. You can hug your pet, you can meditate and stretch again, you can do whatever you want, but it doesn't need to be as intense. So overall, grounding and centering doesn't really need to be complicated, but it is all up to you. Maybe one day you want to meditate, the next day you do yoga, and then another time you want to eat or even go out to the park and ground and center. But you don't have to give yourself restrictions just because one technique works. There's always going to be days where we're just really off and you might not feel like you're grounding and centering, but just putting in the effort to do it helps in any way. So this is the end of today's episode. I would like to thank you guys for listening today. If you would like to follow the podcast social media pages, you can find it at Cats Tea and Witchcraft on Instagram, Cats Tea and Witch on Twitter. There's also the website that you can find in the podcast description. And I am also on YouTube at Cats Tea and Witchcraft Podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me on one of those platforms, or you can also send an email at catsteaandwitchcraftpodcast@gmail.com. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Blessed be.